Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It's your favorite time of the week. Once again, it is the 249th edition of the world famous Keepin' It Rio podcast, number one in your hearts and soon to be number one in the ratings. It may take me a couple more episodes, but we're getting there. Joe Rogan's starting to feel us. So I'm excited for this evening's guest. I had to do a little bit of a schedule change, and I appreciate her being here because I inconvenienced her slightly, and I'm sorry for that, but we're going to make up for it with the content of today's episode. So, with no hesitation whatsoever, please allow me to welcome our guest, Brittni Cosgrove, to the show. Brittni, welcome to Keepin' It Rio. How's it going?
Hi, thank you. It's going great. I'm excited to be here, and I'm glad that we were able to work out the schedule because I think this is going to be a really cool conversation.
I do too. I surprise people sometimes. I always joke and say I'm just a roofer, but I like to talk and I like to have conversations with all kinds of people. And I feel like I can adapt to any conversation. So we're going to have ourselves a doozy today. Why don't we kick it off the old fashioned way and just, hey, Brittni, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. So I'll share that in today's day and age, I am a transformational life and business coach, and it has definitely been a roller coaster to get here. So rewind a couple decades. Growing up, I was always very ambitious. I had big dreams, big goals, big visions, but I also really struggled with severe anxiety and depression that started when I was about 5 years old. So I was really ambitious, but really anxious little child, and that just continued to expand throughout my youth and my young adulthood. So ambitions always stayed really high, but at the same time, I was really struggling internally. And I was driven by perfectionism and always trying to make things better and better and better. Nothing was ever good enough. And it was just a really not fun way to live. So I remember a couple of years ago, this was back in maybe 2019-ish, I was driving home from work, and at the time I had everything on paper that I could want. I had the job, the relationship, the house, the finances, like it was all going fantastically. And yet I was so disconnected inside. I was so unhappy, but for no reason. And I just remember thinking, like, this couldn't be it. There has to be something more. There has to be something different than this. And then a few months later was when COVID happened. And so I always say that when the rest of the world hit pause, so did I. And it was the first time in my entire waking memory that I remember actually slowing down and starting to get really honest with myself about what do I want? Where was I going? What was I doing? Why do I want what I want? And through this exploration, I found the world of entrepreneurship. And I fell in love with the whole be your own boss thing and being able to pour all of my motivation and energy and creativity into something that I was getting to build for me and through me. And while that first business was by no means the end all be all, it opened the door to what does it mean to bring forward that dream or that vision that's on your heart? What does it mean to make that happen? And a few months later, I found the world of coaching through podcasting, actually, which is why being on podcasts and speaking and sharing my story is so near and dear to my heart, because this was how I found the world that I now existed. And I just remember when I was listening to that, it was everything that she was saying. It was different than what I thought coaching was, because I had so many misconceptions about it. I thought it was very fake, very woo-woo, very highlight reel, just nothing real to it. But when I was listening to this woman speak, it was about getting to the root of the things that hold us back, helping people move forward by healing the past, things like that. And it was just like, it felt like my soul came home to itself. It's like, oh, this is what I've been looking for. I want to help people and I want to fuel them with their ambition and move them forward, but in a way that's also healing and holistic. And a few months later, fast forward, I was in my first year-long certification program. I opened up my own coaching business at the end of that, and it has been the biggest gift and honor getting to be in this profession. I love what I do. I really get to work with people. So similar to how the Keepin' It Rio podcast is really multifaceted and speaks to many different stories and many different aspirations and goals and so many different through lines. That's kind of how my coaching is too. Whatever that dream is that's on your heart, whatever that goal or that vision is, whether it's with your family, whether it's with your career, starting a business or a nonprofit, anything. I want to help people get to the root of the things that they don't even realize, the ways that they don't even know that they're holding themselves back or self-sabotaging or playing small. And by clearing that, it's like it's a stepping stone so that as people are moving towards those goals, you get to do so in a way that feels really easeful, really aligned, really authentic, and just nourishing from the inside out.
Yes. Okay. We are going to have a great conversation today. I love it. You got me all excited now. So this speaks to me personally, and it speaks to a lot of people that I know. I think everybody has something that holds them back in some way, shape, or form, from being who we ultimately believe we should be or who we are. And I know in a lot of cases, self-doubt is, that's the prominent thing for most people. So and so could do that, but I just can't do that. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not whatever. I've always had the exact opposite mindset. I'm probably not smart enough or good enough, but I always just feel like, what the heck, let's go do it. But it wasn't always that way for me either. I had I guess when I look back at it, I didn't live in a weird childhood or anything like that, but I was always a little bit kind of shy, withdrawn, kind of I am an introverted extrovert, is I guess the way that they describe it. And for me, one day I just decided I had enough of that and I was just going to change. But I know that doesn't work for everybody. So let's talk a little bit about that aspect of life. You said, from a very early age, 5 is what you've identified back to, that you had anxiety and doubt and all kinds of emotions that you've dealt with through your young adulthood into adulthood. Tell me a little bit about how you recognize these things many years after the fact, because I'm sure you probably weren't walking around, as a 10-year-old thinking, well, whatever happened to me at 5 got me messed up. So how do you go back over the course of time and identify these things and understand what has happened along the way that's kind of put you into the position that you are mentally, and what kind of things we can then do to escape that? I guess, I don't know if escape's a good word, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're exactly right, because it's like until you realize what you don't know, you don't even know you don't know it. And so all the way up through, I remember, I'll share a story of when I was in college. I literally had been so, what's the word? Like I was so accustomed to that anxiety that I woke up every single morning and the very first thing I would do was go throw up because my body was just on overdrive. And because I was so accustomed to that anxiety, I did not realize that was abnormal. That's where my set point was. And so I thought it was just how I was, who I was. I had no idea that there was a different way to live or a different way to feel. I thought it was just how I was going to be for forever. And so really when I was in that first year of learning about coaching. So like I said, it was a year-long certification program. And the way that we learned to be coaches was by coaching ourselves, by coaching each other. It was a very immersive and an inside-out approach. So in those first couple months of that program, I'm clearing out all these different, it was like excavating everything that had been built up until that point. Because I had never done therapy. I'd never done self-development work. Like I was fresh to this world, and it was a lot. I cried more in those first couple months than I did in my entire life leading up to that point. But it was so incredible. It was incredibly freeing is what it was. A lot of it was inner child work. So going back like into the different memories and being the adult that I needed in different moments. A lot of it was also mindset work. So much of my anxiety was fueled by perfectionism, which is really integrated into the subconscious and the mindset. And so by learning how to question my thoughts and start getting out of black and white thinking and instead looking at life as a spectrum, that helped me realize the different beliefs that were putting pressure on myself were very much only me against me, and that it wasn't actually serving. If anything, it was holding me back. And so through that, I was able to upgrade the mindset to match the goals that and the level I was thinking at after learning about it all. There's also a lot of subconscious work. So this is really where my bread and butter is now. I love the subconscious because most people don't realize our subconscious is developed in early childhood. And then as adults, it is what is running the vast majority of our operating system. So we are operating out of the subconscious that was developed in childhood without even realizing it. So going back and seeing what were the misunderstandings of memories of something I saw, and then my mind making up a meaning about it. So for example, one time I saw my parents fighting about money. In my subconscious, I had created a story that if I make more money, that will lead to fighting in my relationships. So as you can see, that's not a very productive belief to have, but it took highlighting it to see the belief and then start reworking it. So those are a couple examples of the different modalities that all went into shaping or maybe reshaping who I got to be and who I got to show up for myself as. And a huge component, actually one of the biggest breakthroughs for me early on was just realizing even that I have anxiety or I feel anxious, but I am not anxiety. It's such a subtle shift, but it's just that separation within the identity of saying like, I have this or I feel this. You're validating the experience, but I am so much more than just this one component to it. And when I started to realize that, it's like, oh, I'm Brittni. I'm even more than Brittni. And this is just one component that really has good intentions. Like my anxiety is here to make sure that my work is incredibly integrous. That's one of my core values. And it's here to make sure I feel really good about my output, the stuff I'm putting out into the world. So those are phenomenal intentions. I just have upgraded the approach and the strategy of that anxiety so that instead of feeling the pressure, like, okay, let's do it a different way. It feels a lot better.
Yeah, I love that because I think that's the hardest part of the entire thing. And I want to talk a little bit about your experience going through the training and certification, because, like you said, at that point is when everything gets basically thrown out onto the table. And you have to have very honest and true, difficult conversations with yourself, but also with other people that are around you. And I know that's a very uncomfortable thing to do just because it's hard to do that. You don't like to analyze yourself and realize, hey, there are some things here that I need to take care of and I need to work on. But what is it like for you when you get in there? Like you said, I've cried more in this period than I did my entire life leading up to it. There's a lot of realization, a lot of things that come out that you didn't even think about until they're sitting there in front of you. So tell me a little bit about that experience, and then we're going to kind of veer off into happier stuff. But that kind of sets the foundation, right? It tells you, okay, I'm not defined by any of this stuff. I am me. And I just need to figure out exactly who me is. And what does that process look like when you're going through it?
Yeah, absolutely. So starting off, like when you are entering any type of container that is very much in service to growth, because that's kind of what it is. It's just growth. And there's so many different ways to define that. And it means something different to everyone. And that's okay. But it's really just this expansion from where you are to where you want to be, just more. So like I said earlier, when I found the coaching world, I knew to my core that there was something here for me. I was like, I do not believe that purpose and career are combined for even most people, but I have known since I was little that my purpose and my career would be intertwined. So finding coaching, I was like, oh, like this is it. Like this is why my soul is here. So I entered into this program with the mindset of I am here to do what it takes, learn anything, like wide open. I wanted to end that year and to be as masterful as I possibly could with 1 year under my belt at the end of that year. Like I'm a deep diver. I went all in with it. And so to this day, I never ask clients to go somewhere or do something that I haven't done for myself first, because I've gone deep and I've gone far. And is it easy? No. Is it incredibly vulnerable? Yes. Especially when you're still learning the other person. So like, for example, in my coaching program, when we were training, we would hop on a practice call with someone that maybe we hadn't connected before. So you are just quickly burying everything to this other person and they're holding that space, and then vice versa. But of course, like it was an intensive training program. So that was what we were there to do. But it taught me that vulnerability is not a weakness. Vulnerability is so strong. And it is the actual key to opening up to immense growth and depth. Without vulnerability, there will always be a wall up. There will always be resistance. And that's not bad. And there's an opportunity to lean into the vulnerability and just kind of open up in that space. It was confronting, it was intense, but oh my goodness, was it magical? Because it was like every single day, every single week, I just felt this weight that I've been carrying since I was 5 years old just get lighter and lighter. And internally, what had felt like a very tight, constrictive inner experience, that was all I knew. It was like I could breathe more. I could expand more. I could just feel the space being created within. So no matter how hard it was or how confronting it was, the payoff was immediate. I was like the value of healing in that way made being vulnerable and confronting, it was almost it's almost like the Pavlov experience. It's like, okay, I do really hard inner work, but then I get to feel really good. A little bit of a self-development junkie there, but it was freeing, very freeing. And that's what I get to see with others is the more vulnerable that my clients are, the deeper we get to go. And it's like it just compounds. It's kind of like an exponential graph where it just skyrockets because of that willingness and openness to free yourself is kind of what it comes down to.
Yeah, and it's magical. You're right. That is like the coolest thing ever when you realize I'm starting to feel better about things. I'm starting to see things differently. I have a different view on the world. And once you get to that point, everything's awesome and you feel great again, you know? And it's like I never even understood that I didn't feel great before, but now I'm on top of the world. And I love the aspect of now you understand this from a personal level. You've gone through everything extensively. You've gone to the depths and you have, you know, experienced this yourself. Like you say, never ask somebody to do something that you wouldn't do yourself because that's fake and it's a guru type move. You're not going to do that because you've gone through this. You've been true to yourself and to the process. So now you come out on the other side and you're certified as a coach and you're now helping people. So let's talk a little bit about this transformation in life, because like you said, this was it kind of happened relatively quickly. You know, you look at things and say, okay, I want to do this. This is what I'm going to do. Then you go about it and you make it happen. In a short period of time, you've completely changed. And now you're going to do the same for others. Tell me a little bit about the experience with your first client that you ever worked with on your own. And tell me about some of the emotions that you felt going in. Did you have any kind of self-doubt or anything like that? And then we'll talk a little bit about that breakthrough moment that everybody loves to talk about. But what was that first, you know, hey, I'm going in here and I'm going to do it. I'm a coach. Never done it before. This is my first time. Tell me a little bit about the feeling.
Oh my goodness. I still remember. And she is to this day one of my favorite humans. Her name is Morgan. Shout out to Morgan. She's phenomenal. And I remember, oh my gosh, I was so nervous and I didn't even know I had the training around business, but without actually being in the practice and experimenting and the application of it, it's a lot of theory that you're trying to turn into application. So I was doing the checklist of things to create the clients. And this was the most organic connection ever. I was taking a walk. I was walking my friend's dog, taking a walk by the beach. I met this girl because she wanted to pet the dog. I was talking with that girl. We just absolutely vibed. She introduced me to her cousin who was super interested in coaching. And so we just hopped on a call, the whole process. I was so nervous during the sales conversation of it. I was like, okay, I'm hands off. I'm not hands off. I'm hands off. Like it was it's a whole back and forth inside because I was just giddy, but I was also nervous because it felt like I was on the verge of it being real. And it was such an easy conversation. It was an easy yes for her. I was flooded, like toes to the top of my head. I was so like electrified. I was like, this is it. It's happening. Like this is real. And it was so amazing. That first container, I was over prepared, over like just doing so much. I was very much wanting to make it like the absolute best, perfect container for her. And it's funny because at the end of the day, did she read the notes reviews after the sessions? No. Like what was actually the things that were impactful for her was the live coaching during it and the container of support between the sessions. But it allowed me the space to just learn, because I feel like every new coach that I've met, and a lot of entrepreneurs in their own way, when you're new at something, there's a level of overcompensating. Even if you don't realize it or intending to, you're just trying to over deliver, over give. And it's so beautifully intended, and it's not needed, because that's not where each person's unique magic exists. Like for me, it's people don't want to work with me for the notes that I give them afterwards. Like I don't even do that anymore. They want to work with me because in the time that we hop on a call, they're going to get results. They're going to get insights and downloads and transformation, even in that single time. Like every person has that. And you just got to find like, what is that unique magic for you, that's what the people are coming for. That's what the people want to buy from. So anyways, back to the original client. Yeah, it was just so fun. And it just allowed me the space to grow into my own authority as a coach and really start owning like, oh no, I am a good coach. I don't need backup plans B, C, D, E, F. Like like I've got my intuition. I don't even need a plan. Like I'm here to support in the moment, live coaching with whatever most serves this person. I don't need a backup plan of tools and ideas and thoughts, because I trust myself to facilitate and navigate any circumstance that comes through in a session. And it was really through that first container with that first client of getting to learn that for myself. Because again, I knew it here, but it took time to learn it for myself at a like cellular level.
Absolutely. And what an awesome feeling, to go through the process to get to this and say, okay, yes, this is me. And I totally understand the over preparation. I totally understand everything needing to be perfect. That's always been my thing. And I was able to shake that a little while ago. And I'm very thankful for that, because that's the hardest thing in the world. You try to please everybody and you try to go above and beyond in every scenario. And then you realize, not only was it not necessary, but in most cases, it wasn't even appreciated. So I like to see that. And I love to have that shift in your mindset where it's like, you know what? It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's going to be me. And the fact that you go in and you're organic and you don't have, your lesson plan written down and you're not going bullet point for bullet point, but you're actually having individual one-on-one interactions with your clients. You're teaching them in their space at their rate. And I think that's awesome. And that's how I know you're going to be amazing at this, because not all coaches are like that. Some of them have canned presentations and it's one size fits all. And it doesn't really help anybody. It's basically, I think it makes things worse for a lot of people when they go through a process and nothing happens, except, I spent $10,000 and that guy got my money. So you've got this purity about it, and you're going in, you're helping people with genuine, caring from your heart. And the question I always love to ask people, okay, I asked about your first client, and you've been doing this for a little while, so you've got a nice little handful, I'm sure, of folks that you've worked with. Tell me about the first experience you had where somebody came back to you after the fact and said, Brittni, what you did changed my life. I had an epiphany. I had a breakthrough. Something crazy happened because of our meeting. And now my entire life is on a completely different trajectory. And I want to know specifically, what does it feel like inside for you when you realize that you had that impact on another person?
I'll do the second question first, and then I'll share like the story, because it is, honestly, it's one of the most rewarding feelings in the entire world. Like it's one of the big reasons why I love what I do, because it truly, and I know this from my firsthand experience, and then getting to hear and see that for others, like it is truly life-changing. And not always in the super dramatic from my life was terrible and now it's fantastic. Like sometimes there's that arc, but sometimes it's really even just this expansion of people realizing what's possible for them. Like I was recently speaking with a woman that is a nonprofit founder and CEO, and we were talking, she's one of my clients, and we were talking about her game plan for the nonprofit over this next couple of years. And as she was talking, I was like, I could hear there was like something in her, the way she was communicating, where there was just like a nudge for me. So I just kind of started poking with permission and just asking questions. And she had this whole other dream that she had been sitting on about wanting to not only just have this nonprofit, but build out a foundation of nonprofits with scholarship funds. That's like an international component, like a massive, massive world-changing dream. And she's sitting here loving her nonprofit, but acting like this is already too big. And like it was that back to that imposter syndrome and that self-doubt, but it was hearing that and seeing that and helping her, like reflecting back to her and helping her realize, like, no, like if this is on your heart, it's here for a reason. The work we're doing isn't just to gear you up to run your nonprofit. Like this is an even bigger mission here. That's what gets my heart on fire, is working with the people that want to change the world and helping them step into who they need to be to do so. There's a couple stories that are kind of like popping into my head. And I think I'm going to go with actually more of a personal share. The client was actually my sister. So sorry, I'm shouting her out, but
Shout out to your sister.
It was my sister. So it's not like a technical client, but we went through a normal coaching container. I put her in a couple months of coaching because after I had gone through that first year for myself, not only did I like feel the impacts for myself, everyone in my world could see how different I was. I was incredibly more compassionate and graceful and kind, and my communication skyrocketed. I wasn't as critical. I wasn't projecting. Like it was truly a 180. So because I was living that experience, I have two sisters. They are the most important people in the world to me. So my immediate goal after that was like, okay, I'm feeling this. I need them to start feeling this too. So it's taking my sister through it. And I remember she was working on confidence, and now she is an incredibly skilled hairstylist and is growing a very impressive clientele. She's just out there making strides. But I remember her having this point, and she was also struggling with the anxiety too, where she messaged me and she had this massive breakthrough around how her anxiety, who we gave like a little nickname to, because again, kind of similar to mine, I wanted her to start embodying like, you are not just your anxiety. You have this anxiety. You are not anxiety. So we gave it a little nickname. And she messaged me and she's just like, I don't even know the last time that I felt like this at peace, this secure in myself, this comfortable with where I'm at. She was reflecting back to me this, I should go find the text because it was a while ago, but yeah, this she's reflecting back to me how freeing her own experience was, because very similar. She had started feeling anxious very young. And she took this newfound groundedness in who she was, and she went and she started applying for cosmetology school. And that was the twist that got her from going down the career route that she had settled on in college. That was the safe route. That was the one that made the most sense. And instead, through this coaching was where she pivoted into following what her heart wanted. Even when doctors had said, like, nope, it's not for you, her heart wanted this. So she took that by the reins and she moved forward on it. And like I said, today she is thriving in that career and loves what she does. And I think it was just because she came to that point where she realized and learned and understood for herself that anxiety she wasn't feeling was not feedback that she's inferior or wrong or anything like that. And that she doesn't need to have this picture perfect set of things in order to go after what she truly wanted. And at the end of the day, that's what one of the things that matters most to me in life is I just want people to do what they love and follow their passions and follow their hearts, whatever that looks like to you. And so, yeah, I think like it was getting to see someone step into what they actually want, like letting go of the expectations and what they were going after, and instead saying, no, I want that. I don't care if I've been in college for this other thing. I want that. I'm going after that. And then getting to have the personal effect of it being my sister and getting to watch her transform and become so much more confident and secure in who she is. And like it was priceless, truly.
That is awesome. And I love the fact that it was your sister and you can have that personal touch for the rest of your lives. And this was an impact to someone that's the closest to you of anyone in the world. And what an amazing story. I was not expecting that at all. I was expecting, some random stranger came
I
back
was
to
too,
me and
to be
said, "Hey,
honest.
guess what, Brittni? I was able to go do something that I didn't think I could do." But when it's your own family, that makes it even more cool. So I love that. And congratulations on it. I can just feel the passion and happiness coming through the screen when you're talking. And it's awesome. I love it. You can tell that you love what you're doing. And to me, I think that makes all the world of difference. I mean, I've been in my career for 28 years and it's been a whirlwind. I've been all over the country. I've done a couple crazy things, multiple times that you look at and say, man, what's wrong with that guy? But it was always the same thing. I've always believed that I have a purpose and I've always believed that I need to fulfill the purpose. I never in my wildest dreams thought that I would live in San Antonio, Texas, or own a roofing company. But we bought a roofing company that was already out of business. And I had never been to San Antonio before the day I got here to resurrect it. So try to do that, and having that self-doubt and that anxiety throughout the process was something that was actually kind of exhilarating because every time I would do something that I didn't think I could do or that I had never attempted before, it made everything just seem so much cooler. And I'm at the point now where I just absolutely love what we do. I have a great, great time. I don't have a job. I get to do what I love to do and I get to help people. And I think that's the most awesome thing. And you get to do that for all kinds of folks. So this kind of leads me into my next question. As you continue to evolve and develop and get, stronger with your coaching skills and more repetition and just more understanding of everything in general, you're going to continue to develop and be able to help more people. What does your long-term plan look like for your coaching? Is this something where you're looking at saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to help X amount of people and then I'm going to retire and go live on a beach? Or is this going to be your life's work and something you're planning on doing until, you're no longer able to do it?
What a perfect segue. It's definitely the second. Like this is something I'm here for the long term. And I have a couple ideas of what that might look like. As of like right in this current realm of time. So just in this past year, I've moved from just one-to-one work into group work as well. So this is allowing me to not only diversify what types of coaching I'm doing, but I'm also getting to create community and create spaces for people to be seen and see others who are doing similar extraordinary things. And then on top of that, I get to work with even more people at the same time as well. So it's kind of this really natural and beautiful expansion that started. I ran a couple of private groups throughout this last year. And, I would like literally just within this week, we are moving the group into more of a public facing realm. So opening the doors up to even more people and doing even more cohorts of it. So just really one of my goals for 2026 is just to work with more people in 1 year than I have in the previous years combined. Like I'm looking for my own version of expansion and growth in that ways. I'm also doing more retreat work. So in the second half of this year, hosting my first in-person retreat with people, bringing them together to combine adventure with self-development and healing so that it's really this all-encompassing, magical, step out of your comfort zone experience, really immersive. And then big picture, I think there's going to be, how do I say it? Lots of things will unfold. I think, books and speaking are already in the works. I love being on podcasts and sharing and working with other communities. I would love to, I don't even know how to, like, I don't know what the word is, like franchising, but like not franchising. Like I want to expand Because Coaching all around the world so that there's other coaches who are really following this intuitive and that, like, this type of methodology where it's not just reading through a list of questions, it's not just mindset, it's not just emotional work. Like it's kind of this multifaceted approach to freeing people from themselves, all in service of just up-leveling humanity to help people bring forward their own authority and their own leadership and their own, just those own desires that are on their hearts. Who knows how that will actually look and how it will actually unfold, but like I said, I'm in it for the long run. So 60, 70, 80, all the way through, I will be doing this in some capacity.
I love it. And I agree with you 100%. Once you get in, you don't get out. It's like, as weird as it seems, okay, we have parallels. And I told you earlier, I have a roofing business, right? But I also do mentorship for a lot of roofing company owners that are younger than myself, and have a lot of people around the country that I speak with on a regular basis to kind of help along the way. And I always tell people, that's the part that's the most rewarding to me, is helping someone or knowing that someone actually trusts me enough to call and ask me a question, and then to say, you know what, I'm going to help this person because I admire the fact they did that. I know how hard it is to ask for help. I know how hard it is to admit that you may not be the smartest or the greatest at everything that you try to do. And being able to put that in perspective is so hugely important. And you're going to do so much for so many people. I love this. I'm so thankful that we got this opportunity to do the podcast tonight. Before we start to wind it down, I always love to ask this too, because I joke and say the number one rated podcast in the world. Joe Rogan is afraid of me because he knows that he doesn't have the same kind of skills I have. And once I get discovered, Joe Rogan's going to be in trouble. He's only about an hour away from me in Austin. So one of these days, I'm just going to go over there and do a podcast in his studio and say, there you go, bud. That's how you do it. But someone's watching this show. I always joke and say millions of people are going to watch it. And I don't even think it's a joke. Millions of people are going to watch it at some point, maybe 100 years from now. But let's say that someone's watching this and they were sparked and triggered by you, by your message, by what you're bringing, by what you're doing. And they say, you know what? Maybe I have something going on that I haven't really acknowledged. Maybe there's something more to it. I think that I want to do something more with myself, but I'm kind of resigned to the fact. I'd like to just reach out to this Brittni and see if she could, maybe be my coach. What are the best ways that people can go about doing such a thing if they so desire?
Yes. Come say hi over on Instagram. You can find me at Brittni.Cosgrove. Brittni's a little different. It's Brittni.Cosgrove. You can also find me on my website and say hi, BrittniCosgrove.com. And I truly would love to hear the takeaways and the insights. And truly, if that's you and you're like, okay, I have this nudge, I feel the pull, follow the pull. The world wants what's on your heart. The world wants your unique magic and mission. Like, bring it to the world. This is my invitation to be brave, feel the fear, and do it anyways.
It sounds simple. It's not. But once you do it, you will never, ever, ever regret the decision that you made. I know that for a fact. And I love it. And because we did have a little bit of a scheduling snafu, I'm going to cut our episode a little bit shorter than normal. I do want to ask, is there anything else that you'd like to say before we kind of wind it down? I'll give a shout out to my sponsor afterward, which I think you'll get a kick out of. But is there anything that you'd like to leave our audience with that we haven't covered? Anything in particular that you've got coming up that you'd like to promote? Anything at all? I'm all about it.
I don't have much to promote right now. Like, I'm very much just kind of in the real life coaching. So I do have something called the Transformation Table. This is an open space coaching call for people to hop on and get real life support from me on whatever it is. So exactly what he was just saying. Like, if you're feeling like, okay, I've got this goal, I'm starting to see myself sabotaging patterns. I'm starting to see how I hold myself back. hop onto the transformation table and get unstuck. Like, it's simple, not easy, but it is simple. It's really just you saying yes to yourself. And in general, that's one of my biggest things I would love to share with the world. Say yes to yourself, whatever that is for you. No one can stop you. No one can hold you back when you tell yourself yes. You are the only one that can keep you playing small. So it is up to you to unleash yourself.
There you go, folks. It's all about it. And I love that message. And I believe that 100%. The biggest thing in the world that holds us back from reaching our potential is right here. And as soon as you can figure out, you know what, people aren't going to judge, no matter, the people that do judge are irrelevant. And I think that's the biggest fear that people have, is the fear of being judged by others. And once you realize the people that are judging you are doing so because they did not take the initiative, they did not fulfill their dreams, they did not take action, and they are angry with themselves, and it's just projection. So I appreciate that message very much. And before we bid adieu to our audience here, there is one thing. It's my favorite part of the episode that I always love to do. I need to give a shout out to my sponsor, Brittni. And I know this is going to be absolutely fascinating to you. You're probably going to want to get into roofing as soon as you hear about my sponsors at roofer.com. And Roofer is a program designed by roofers for roofers. I'm the pitch man of all time when it comes to this. And basically what it is your all-inclusive tool from the initial contact with your prospect all the way to the final payment and beyond. They cover everything in the program, from roof measurements, ordering your materials, putting your work orders together, getting your crew to the job site, ordering everything that you need, doing all that follow-up after the fact. And it's all included in Roofer's Elite Package. I don't know what the cost is because they're my sponsor and I don't probably pay the same as everybody else, but I will say this. Roofer is amazing. This is episode 249 of Keeping It Rio. Episode 250 is next week, and I am going to have an amazing guest on my show. It's going to be the CEO, Richie Nelson of Roofer, who is very elusive. It's taken me actually having to write it into a contract to get him on the show, but that'll be episode 250. And I will say this, Brittni, episode 249 has been an absolute blast. I'm so thankful for you taking the time to be here. Let's do it again sometime down the road, a couple years from now, after you've rescued and saved and freed millions and millions of people. And at that point, you and I can both kind of say, you know what, hey, Joe Rogan, we don't know who you are anymore. We've taken over. So thank you for that. If you would stick around after I shut this off, and we will finish our conversation. But ladies and gents, I end every episode the same way. It's monotonous at this point, but it's so awesome. And it's simply me using the cheesiest tagline in the history of the world, which is, until next time, keep on keeping it Rio. I'll see y'all next Thursday. Thank you.
We're Roofer. We know that managing a roofing business can be chaotic, so we created a single platform with all the tools you need to easily run your roofing business. Stop switching between multiple different softwares and experience streamlined operations from lead to payment in hours instead of days. Visit roofr.com to get started for free.